not a fan of you, son.
The call you heard was for your life, not mine.
You're breaking my heart, boy.
You looking for something, aren't you?
It's not about the money. I'm tired of being somebody I'm not.
So yeah, you would think that this is a straightforward biopic about Elvis Presley, and one that was not really well received and kind of destroys the legacy of Elvis Presley. No. You have to wait until 8 years later until Baz Luhrmann does it with his movie at Warner Brothers. Sorry, that Elvis movie was fucking terrible. But this movie, however, brace yourself for this one, because this is a doozy. In 1935, William and Helen Hemsley, played by Brian Garrity and Amanda Crew, welcome identical twin boys into the world, but their joy is quickly tempered by a sobering realization. How could they give these children any kind of light beyond the desperate poverty that haunted many families in the midst of the Great Depression? When evangelist Reese Wade, played by Ray Liotta, reveals that he and his wife Louise, played by Ashley Judd, cannot have children, William feels the Lord's prompting to give them one of their infant boys. Both brothers are born with passion, drive, and awesome musical talent, but take very separate yet converging paths. Drexel Hemsley, played by Blake Rain, rises like a comet and changes the music world forever. His adopted brother, Ryan Wade, also played by Blake Rain, struggles to find the purpose of life. All the way into manhood, he wrestles with pleasing Reverend Wade, his loving but controlling father, who is convinced his son Ryan is called into the ministry. Ryan is encouraged by his loving and supportive wife Jenny, played by Erin Cottrell, and lifelong friends Dino and Avi, played by Seth Green and Joe Pantoliano, to follow his musical dreams. And oh, he can sing. Just like his world-famous twin, The Identical is a captivating journey spanning 5 decades from the 1930s to the 1970s. The story is about the restoration and the reconciliation of a family broken apart by culture, creed, and tradition. Movie-going audiences will be drawn to this timeless tale of love, hope, and redemption that speaks to all generations, and blah, 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 blah. Bottom line, this is not an Elvis Presley movie, even though the dude is literally Elvis Presley, except the fact that it's not actually Elvis Presley as a whole, but, like, my God, like, it's amazing how low a movie has to go to create this random legacy about somebody who doesn't look like Elvis Presley, but is supposed to be Elvis Presley, but they probably couldn't get the rights to name him Elvis Presley because Elvis Presley's family is probably looking at this going like, out of your goddamn mind. I'm not letting you use our family's name. Is our patriarch's name for this garbage? And this is garbage. This is the type of movie, I think Rotten Tomatoes, they don't usually get everything right, but they sum this up beautifully. Actually, no, this wasn't Rotten Tomatoes. This was a review from the Arizona Republic, and, I am at a loss for words because I can't even think straight right now. It's not the review I see here, but it's from Quad City Times. This is what it says here. Fans of bad movies, please know, this is a must-see. This is so bad, it must be seen to be believed. Showgirls bad. A vision that slowly goes wrong, then terribly wrong, that hits disaster levels. In a sense, it's an Ed Woodian exercise in wrong. That review sums up this movie perfectly. This is a bad movie, but it is such a fun, guilty pleasure movie. This is the definition of a so bad it's good movie, because you cannot believe that these people went to this much to make a movie like this, only for it to come out like this, because they simply just couldn't get the naming rights to use Elvis Presley. So they had to create their own identity by using the same characteristics, the same look, the same mentality of Elvis Presley. But we can't say it's Elvis Presley because the Presley family will come after us. Like this. This is unbelievable. This is an unbelievable mess of movie. It's an unbelievable mess of a film that I'm getting so confused of trying to explain it to you. That's how much this movie is absolutely awful. And it is awful, but it's the kind of awful that makes for one of the most hilariously bad movies you will ever see in your entire effing life. I mean, this thing is glorious in how terrible it is. Like, this is an ungodly mess of a movie, but I would highly recommend it. If you love bad movies, like if you watch MST3K and Riff Tracks to see them riff on bad movies, this is the type of film that they would love to riff on, but they probably won't get the rights to do that because they don't want anybody the people who made this movie don't want anybody trashing this masterpiece of theirs. Where it is a masterpiece, but not in the way I think they wanted it to be. So there you go. Not much more to say about that one, except see The Identical if you love bad movies, because boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is a bad movie, but it's glorious in how bad it really is.
I've lost control of my car. Do you
think I could use your phone?
You live around here?
Yeah, over on River Road. I'll stand right here. You can hand the phone, shut the door.
I'll be right back.
No good deed.
Look, I like Idris Elba. I like Taraji P. Henson. I'll usually watch him in whatever movie you put him in, regardless of how bad it is. But come on, man. This? Really? Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at a good chunk of movies this week. 5 films in particular for September 12, 2014. And sadly, this was the highest grossing of the new releases. Why? Why did you people make this a hit? I know some of you probably don't even remember this movie even existed. No Good Deed. I mean, with a title like No Good Deed, the most generic-ass title you could possibly imagine, who would remember this movie? You know, I mean, it felt like this movie existed so they can have the TV spot, the tagline for this movie be, you know, no good deed goes unpunished. Ooh, you know, like, you're not being clever with this at all. Just like the movie isn't being clever with anything whatsoever. So stop me if you've heard this inventive premise before, because oh my god, I can't believe how clever this is. A lonely mother invites a handsome car accident victim into her home. Desperate for a little attention, she doesn't realize she's entertaining a sociopathic yet charming escaped convict. In one terrifying night, her life completely changes as she fights for her own life and the lives of her children in No Good Deed. Genius! It's like it's been something that's never been done before. Oh wait. This has been done before. Several times. And, I mean, do I really need to dive more into this movie that hasn't already been said already? You know exactly where this is gonna go. And I don't care that they have Idris Elba and Taraji P. Henson in it. Give them something to do. Give them a good movie to work around with here. Give them a good script here. This writer is so well known, she has no Wikipedia page on her. Like, it's literally just black text. Sam Miller is a name that is somewhat relevant. I mean, look at his other movies he made. You know, this is a guy that's directed such wonderful movies as Among Giants and Elephant Juice, and he was a narrator on Krakatoa The Last Days, and if anything, he's more relevant to Idris Elba because he directed episodes of Luther, the show that he was on. And, yeah, that's pretty much all you got for him. He's mostly known as a television director, but a good television director. I mean, he's directed some good stuff on TV. Snowpiercer, Daredevil, Luke Cage. So yeah, he's not a bad director here. The problem is just the film itself. I mean, even the best directors couldn't save this garbage here. And this is garbage. Like, I mean, this is... I don't even really need to delve more into this movie here because, yeah, it's about as generic as you're gonna get. She's gonna figure out who she is. She's gonna end up saving the day by either killing him or sending him back to prison. And, yeah, what you think's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. It's just kind of like, why are we even here? And worst of all, the fact that this movie was a huge hit, like, I mean, I'll give it this. It at least tells you that, hey, people go to see movies with these two actors in it, no matter how much you might not think about the movies being that good and all. I mean, it's good to see that Idris Elba and Taraji P. Henson have a loyal following to them. I mean, Henson's going to have a big success the following year with Empire, which is going to land her some Golden Globes and Emmy nominations as well. So at least there's that, but just give them better movies to work with here, people. I mean, seriously, give them better films to work with, for God's sakes, but... I digress. So let's go ahead and move on to a movie that really isn't any better than No Good Deed. It's a sequel that was made because solely and effectively the first movie was a massive hit. So bring on Dolphin Tale 2.
Aquarium. Winter's been such an inspiration for me.
She's not doing well. Winter needs to be paired with another female, and soon.
Marine Fisheries just picked up a stranding. It's a female.
Hello, Hope.
What is wrong with that bird? Where do I start?
We don't know if dolphins feel friendship. It feels like they do. That's not a bad thing.
Dolphin Tale 2, rated PG. Advanced tickets on sale August 29th.
Unless these two dolphins are actually going to fuck on screen, there's no reason to watch this fucking movie, man. I mean, Did we really need a sequel to Dolphin Tale? I mean, really, what more could you add to the story except the fact that, oh, we've got another dolphin now it's gonna be in this movie, so that the people can go like, oh, it's cute that they're together, and that's literally the premise of this movie. It's the story of another dolphin at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium named Hope, and after Winter's elderly companion and surrogate mother Panama dies, Winter's future is in jeopardy unless Sawyer, Clay, Hazel, and the rest of the team from the first movie can find a new companion for her. And a lot of the same people are back from the first film. You got Harry Connick Jr. back, Ashley Judd, Nathan Gamble, Chris Christopherson, Morgan Freeman's back in this one here. I mean, this is pretty much a lot of the same. This is pretty much the same film as the first movie all over again, except, we're throwing another dolphin in here. And yeah, it could be cute to watch the dolphins together on screen, but have a point to it, really. Like, this is a movie that is so bland and so generic that I would rather watch the terrible Zeus and Roxanne. Because at least in that movie, there's at least somewhat of an intriguing idea there with, if a dolphin and a dog becoming friends. It's just like, yeah, it's a terrible movie, but you know what? It's probably more enjoyable than it's more at least enjoyable in a so bad it's good level than this is. This is just bland schlock. I mean, this movie literally is the definition of a direct-to-video movie that was blown up on the big screen because we've got Harry Connick Jr., Ashley Judd, and Morgan Freeman involved in here. If these guys went back, you can guarantee that this thing would have went straight to DVD. There's no reason to put this on the big screen. It's not a good movie. It's not an entertaining film. The first movie was passable, and there's been other movies that are much better than this. Big Miracle was an underrated film that came out not too long after Dolphin Tale that didn't get the audience it deserved. It was I actually really enjoyed that movie a lot. This, on the other hand, yeah, this is just meaningless fluff overall. It's just like, we're putting this out there for the kids before the good stuff comes out for the kids later on. I mean, we're going to have a good kids film coming up in just a little bit here in a couple of days' time, but this one, not so much. So, not much more to say about that one. Dolphin Tale 2. So, we're 0 for 2 so far, but we're going to be 1 for 2 after we're done with this next one here, because yes, this movie is absolutely amazing, and it's one you should definitely see. And that is The Drop.
Do you know whose money you're jacking?
James Gandolfini delivers authenticity and controlled menace
Find my money.
Let me take care of it.
in his final film performance.
Are you doing something desperate?
The Drop, rated R, now playing.
And no, we're not talking about that piece of shit 2022 Mark Duplass Brothers comedy, if you want to even call it a comedy, where it was literally nothing but, oh, this couple dropped a baby. That's the whole point of the movie. No, this isn't anything but that. This is the movie called The Drop. It follows a local bartender, Bob Saganowski, played by Tom Hardy, through a covert scheme of funneling cash to local gangsters, money drops, in the underworld of Brooklyn bars, under the heavy hand of his employer and cousin Mar, played by James Gandolfini, in his last full performance. Bob finds himself at the center of a robbery gone awry, and intertwined in an investigation that digs deep into the neighborhood's past, where friends, family, and foes all work together to make a living no matter the cost. You also have a cast that also includes Noomi Rapace and also Morgan Spector. Yes, Super Size Me guy has a role in this movie. You also have Ann Dowd, John Ortiz, Elizabeth Rodriguez. So there are some notable character names in here, and some names that are very surprising in general, specifically, the Super Size Me guy. This is, of course, also based off of a Dennis Lehane book. Dennis Lehane, of course, also gave us Gone Baby Gone and Shutter Island. All have made really good movies in general here, and this movie really is the complete opposite of what Cormac McCarthy's The Counselor was the year before, which was one of the worst movies of 2013. A great, gritty crime thriller that's all well acted, well executed, and more put together. And James Gandolfini, like I said, man, I mean, he was really just given that one by one after, The Sopranos ended, because he had 2 solid movies that nobody heard of. Enough Said the year before, which is great, and this one, which is just another reason why this guy was on such a hot streak in the final years of his life, and he could have really been on his way to becoming one of our great actors, who could have probably won Academy Awards for some of the performances he's been given, because, man, he knocks it out of the park in this movie. I mean, he's a force not to be messed with in this movie, and he works very well with Tom Hardy and Noomi Rapace and the rest of this cast as well. And yeah, it elevates the film above the typical crime drama of its kind. Yeah, there are times when it really does feel like we've kind of been here, but we've kind of been down this path before, but it never keeps you uninvested. It keeps you engulfed in what you're watching here, is what I'm trying to say. And Yeah, it's a really, really damn good movie, and one that sadly was overlooked. It didn't do the best business when it came out, and it got good reviews and all, but unfortunately, it came and went and got completely shoved over by the Oscars and most awards in general. But it was a really, really damn good movie, and it's one that I highly, highly recommend checking out. If you want to see some of Tony Soprano's his best works overall as an actor, first watch Enough Said, then watch The Drop, because those two movies in particular really show that this guy was clearly on his way to becoming maybe one of our next great actors in general, in terms of maybe becoming an Academy Award winner, and just the things that he could have done after that point. But it never really worked out that way, unfortunately. And of course, he passed away the year before, and yeah, the rest is unfortunately history. So, but definitely check out The Drop. It is one I highly recommend checking out indeed. Seek that one out if you haven't seen it already. So, we're 1 for 2. Now we're going to go to 1 and 3. Here's a look at Atlas Shrugged Part 3. Who is John Galt? Well, it's a very nice school project there, buddy, but can you make a good movie out of this? No, you're not. You're going to make another pointless movie to yet another film that we can add as another series of films we can add as one of the most pointless trilogies of all time. So yeah, approaching collapse, the nation's economy is quickly eroding. As crime and fear takes over the countryside, the government continues to exert its brutal force against the nation's most productive, who are mysteriously vanishing, leaving behind a wake of despair. One man has the answers. One woman stands in his way. Some will stop at nothing to control him. Others will stop at nothing to save him. He swore by his life. They swore to find him. Who is John Galt? Well, whoever he is, he's not in this movie because, yeah, it's amazing how far this series has gone down to such a low. I mean, the first movie started off with at least some promise to it because it had actors like Taylor Schilling and Matthew Marsden in it, and John Polito and Michael Lerner. The second one, I believe, had Samantha Matheson and Esai Morales. This one, they don't have anybody in here. Like, the names in here, there's a couple of recognizable people in here. Greg German from Alan McBeal, Stephen Tobolowsky, but mostly character actors in general here. Rob Morrow from Northern Exposure. It's been a while since we've seen him in anything. But, and the biggest names of all, I can't believe they even got people like this. Ron Paul, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, they're in this movie. If that hasn't turned you away from this movie, then I don't know what will, man. Because, yeah, This is a stupid series of films based off of a book that maybe in the right hands could have been something where it could have worked out, but nope, not with this in general here. I feel like Officer Barbrady on South Park after watching these movies. I watched every bit of this piece of garbage, and because of this piece of shit, I'm never watching movies again. Completely not true, because I'm going to be watching movies anyway, but you get the idea. It's pretty clear that this was never going to work as a movie, especially with the way that they did this. They did this whole thing as this big trilogy, and it just doesn't work at all. Every one of these movies gets worse and worse and worse with every single fucking film. This is atrocious, man. This is absolutely 100% atrocious. And yeah, like I said, these films get worse and worse and worse as time goes on, and it's just, what more do I gotta say, man? It's a terrible, terrible fucking movie, man. It's absolutely awful. Just avoid these films like the plague. Seriously. Avoid them like the plague. So, With all that said, let's get back on a much more positive note with our last film, and that is Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig in the comedy The Skeleton Twins.
I say you put on something pretty. We're going out. Dad always told us to stick together, no matter what.
We should have a Dude's Day.
I think your version of Dude's Day and my version are totally different.
Awesome! Awesome!
I mean, that's all you really need to do to sell the movie. Just have Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig start lip-syncing Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship, and I'm all in, baby. After 10 years of estrangement, twins Maggie and Milo coincidentally cheat death on the same day, prompting them to reunite and confront how their lives went so wrong. As the twins' reunion reinvigorates them both, they realize that the key to fixing their lives just may lie in fixing their relationship with each other. So yeah, this is a movie that's basically a brother and sister who've been separated for a long period of time and essentially have to come back together and figure out, how to get back to their old ways. And, it's very intriguing how this film works in general, because a lot of the stuff in this movie, even though it was a full script, was improvised by Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig, from what I heard about. But also you have a cast that also includes Luke Wilson, Ty Burrell, Joanna Gleason, Boyd Holbrook. Just a really good cast involved in this film, and it's a film that just works all across the board. It's a film that really is very funny. It also does a good job of balancing dramatic elements to it, showing that Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig have a lot of potential, not just as good comedic actors, but also can be good dramatic actors as well. And it really does lead into a lot of entertaining value all throughout the course of the film. It's a very entertaining film, and it works to show the true acting ranges of both Hader and Wiig and showing what they can do in the future, and they have shown in the future in general. I mean, they've shown what they can do through various things. I mean, Bill Hader's been a great success on television, winning all those Emmys for Barry, and Kristen Wiig's been a nice actress who's ranged from being not just being a great comedic actress, but also a great dramatic actress as well. It's just great stuff all across the board with this film. A really good film, a really underrated little gem. If you have not seen The Skeleton Twins, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. Definitely check out The Skeleton Twins.
Tell me anything about yourself.
I can't remember anything. Every month, they send up a new arrival.
This month, that's you.
The only way out is through the maze. It never takes the same shape twice.
Well, we call them grievers.
We get out now, or we die trying.
Let's go! The Maze Runner, rated PG-13.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Here we go again. It's another Twilight, Hunger Games, Divergent, young adult franchise that's trying to capitalize on the biggest successes of those franchises and fail miserably, right? Well, prepare to be surprised. Welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the 4 films that make up September 19th, 2014, and we're starting to get into the movies that a lot of the studios believed in, even though some of them may not turn out to be great. You can at least tell that they knew they probably had something special, and whether or not it worked out is to be determined. And certainly with the first movie we have here, The Maze Runner, prepare to be surprised on how you would feel about this, considering what had come out just before this. But you have the story of Thomas, played by Dylan O'Brien, who recently, as of the time of recording this, was just in Send Help, who wakes up in an elevator remembering nothing but his own name. He emerges into a world of about 60 teen boys who have learned to survive in a completely enclosed environment, subsisting on their own agriculture and supplies. A new boy arrives every 30 days. The original group has been in the Glade for 2 years, trying to find a way to escape through the maze that surrounds their living space. They have begun to give up hope, then a comatose girl arrives with a strange note, and their world begins to change. And as I mentioned before, this was around the time when The Hunger Games and Divergent were the big successes, and The Maze Runner was not as well known as those those movies in general. Although they were a series of popular books, it had built up enough of a fan base for Fox to basically say, yeah, let's go ahead and try this out here and see what happens here. And, surprisingly, out of everything that we've seen since the Twilight craze and the Harry Potter craze got started, this is definitely one of the ones where you could tell they really did put in a lot of effort into it. This is a good movie. Nothing spectacular, but considering when we've had to look at with The Giver and, The Seeker, The Dark is Rising, and a bunch of other bad young adult film franchises that we've taken a look at, Yeah, this definitely is one of those ones that's definitely the cream of the crop overall. I enjoyed this movie when it first came out. I was actually really surprised to find out that it only cost like $34 million to make. And it goes to show you that you can do Transformer-style action on a small budget and make this look more realistic and cool, unlike the last 3 Transformers movies. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. I mean, they do put a lot of effort into it. The creature effects on the Grievers in this are actually pretty spectacular, mixing spiders and robots into this one creepy-looking design that surprisingly works really well. The effects in the maze overall is very impressive as well, with this maze that continues to change every time you go in it. And the story overall is really good, too. The characters are likable enough. They're not really memorable overall. You don't have a Katniss Everdeen that leaves a lasting impact with the Thomas character, but it works very fine, and it does show Dylan O'Brien's potential as a leading actor in the future that we would later see down the road here. The acting is good enough, but nothing truly memorable about it. And while the movie does make you wonder where they could possibly go with it for the next film, you really end up leaving the film with the fact that it's good, but there's nothing really that stands out about it overall. At least with the Hunger Games, there is at least something that you come out of it going like, wow, that was absolutely incredible, and I want to see more of it. And we're going to get more of it in the next couple of months, which will lead to some mixed opinions, but we'll touch on Mockingjay Part 1 in a couple months' time. But The Maze Runner overall, I think, is a nicely paced action movie with some very good action sequences, using that small budget they have very well, some decent characters, a good story, nice visual effects, and really, I can't say it's anything spectacular. It's a good movie, and really going into it without a whole lot of expectations overall, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it, and I was really looking forward to see what they would do next with it, but yeah, overall, a good movie, not a great one, but definitely a lot better than I think a lot of us were really expecting it to be, especially considering what had come out before it. So yeah, Maze Runner overall is pretty good. So let's go ahead and move on to what I think is probably easily the best movie of the week, and that's Liam Neeson in A Walk Among the Tombstones.
Detective,
What can I do for you?
someone's kidnapped my wife. Find the men who did this.
Whoever took your wife didn't just pick your name out of a hat.
These guys are monsters. They're not human.
How can I find them?
They'll kill me if I spoke to you.
I understand we have a new player in the game.
Let her go. Or you will be looking behind you for the rest of your worthless life. A Walk Among the Tombstones. Rated R.
Well, that's a nice trick and all, buddy, but how am I supposed to find the killers if you're just going to jump off the building? I mean, I don't know what they were thinking with that, but hey, it's one of the more memorable scenes you take away from this movie. Liam Neeson stars as a former NYPD cop and private investigator, Matthew Scudder, who's hired by a drug dealer, played by Dan Stevens, to find the killer of his wife in New York City. There's also a girl that gets kidnapped, and it's all connected. And I'll be honest, when I first saw the trailers in this and saw the poster, I thought this was going to be like a supernatural thriller, but it's essentially a crime thriller, making sense because the director of this, Scott Frank, made one of the best underrated movies from 2007, the crime thriller The Lookout, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jeff Daniels, which do share a lot of the same elements carried over here. And this really was an outstanding movie overall. This is one of those ones where you really did not expect it to be as intense as it is, or know what. It's one of those ones where it does what a good crime thriller should do. It plays with your expectations and leads into a lot of really cool things that you didn't expect to see coming overall. You know, Liam Neeson, once again, always a thrill to see on screen, and he's actually toned down in this version compared to some of his other movies in general. He does give it his all while also playing it down to earth overall. I mean, I couldn't also help but think in a lot of scenes that he looked a lot like Robin Williams in The Night Listener, which is another great underrated crime thriller. I mean, watch The Night Listener, then watch this movie, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The action sequences overall and the suspense overall are really good. They're very tense. You really are invested in what's going to happen and how it's going to play out in the end. If there's any big flaws about the movie in general, it's that the killers in the movies don't really have a motivation. They're basically rogue DEA agents who just go out and kill women. That's about it. They don't really go into much detail why they're doing it. It just kind of sort of happens. A little more explanation on the villain's motivations or how they even met would have been beneficial overall. But it's just kind of like, nope, this is what they do. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but then again, maybe it's probably for the best after the last Liam Neeson movie, Nonstop, gave the villains a really stupid excuse for doing what they did. But another thing that I will say against the film overall is that you kind of predict what's going to happen towards the end. For the most part, the movie does a good job of playing with your expectations overall, But then by the end of it, it's just kind of like, oh, we're going to go down the predictable route as we usually do. And that really is just like, you know the villains are going to get their comeuppance. Somebody's going to get killed. The villain's going to get cuffed to something. He'll break out. The cop will come in. The villain will try to kill him again. And then the villain will be shot by the cop. Lather, rinse, repeat. And yes, this movie falls into those cliches. But to its credit, I will give him credit. The execution of the final sequence is nicely done. And I did not predict what was going to happen there. But yeah, those predictable elements do kind of come back, especially towards the end of the film. But I still really enjoy this movie a lot. It has a great visual style to it, a strong performance by Liam Neeson, great action and suspense, a really good payoff at the end, even though it was starting to get predictable at first. But they found a way to make something incredibly unique about it. It did a better job of adapting Matthew Scudder to the big screen than 1986's 8 Million Ways to Die did. Yeah, it could be predictable, but on the whole, it was still enough great entertainment value to recommend it as one of the strongest movies to come out that year easily. This was definitely one of the highlights of 2014. A Walk Among the Tombstones is an outstanding, outstanding film. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, the ensemble comedy, This Is Where I Leave You.
3 months ago, I had a great job and a nice apartment, and I was in love with my wife.
When?
How long?
A year.
First time. On our sides.
Hello?
I imagine by now you are well into the excessive facial hair phase of your depression.
It's not a good time, Wendy.
Dad's dead.
What?
Nice sis. Mommy.
What's different about her?
The boobs. She had a little touch-up.
Your father had one final request, and we are going to honor it. He just wanted his kids under one roof. So for the next 7 days, you are all grounded.
What? Oh, no, we're just sitting in an awkward silence.
So if you've ever wanted that crossover with Nick Wilde, Liz Lemon, Kylo Ren, and Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man, and their mother is Jane Fonda, you got your movie right here. This Is Where I Leave You, which is a film directed by Sean Levy. And needless to say, this is definitely a lot better than his last movie, The Internship. So you have the 4 siblings of the Altman family, Bateman, Faye, Driver, and Stahl, reuniting at their childhood home after their father dies. They're all grounded for a week of sitting Shiva at their father's last request. Jane Fonda stars as the mother of the family, and the film also features Connie Britton, Catherine Hahn, Timothy Olyphant, Rose Byrne, Abigail Spencer, and Dax Shepard. And here's the thing about Sean Levy. Like I said before, he's a comfort food director. He's a guy that very rarely makes a bad movie. The worst thing he ever did was the last thing we just took a look at with him, and that was The Internship, which was not a good movie. It was a bad film, written by people who clearly are stuck in the, old guy, we know what the kids want to know, and just like, we're too stupid to figure out how to use a computer, because that was the biggest problem with the whole movie. It was literally a movie about Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn are too stupid to work at Google because they're too old. Just like, what's the joke? But yeah, this movie was not only a nice return to form for him, it's not only one of his best films, but it's one of my favorite movies that came out this year. I mean, like I said, this is a really damn good weekend for movies. I really did find myself enjoying a lot of this movie. It steers more closely to a movie like Parenthood, which had a TV show around this time, but this is more like the movie than some of the more recent dysfunctional family dramedies like The Family Stone, Dan in Real Life, This Christmas. Many of these elements in here could make this much closer to a modern-day version of Parenthood. It finds a good balance of comedy and drama, and the cast overall is great in here. The chemistries work very well, the relationships work, the family dynamic is nicely done, and it never goes over the top and predictable like a movie like August Osage County did last year, which was a terrible movie. This movie finds that balance between making itself work as a whole without going too far in terms of the dramatic elements to it. A lot of the acting is really good in here. Jason Bateman and Tina Fey are great. They show off more serious material here. They give a chance to show what they can do in general here. Corey Stoll I thought was pretty good. Adam Driver's really good in here. Jane Fonda. Everyone in here does their job here pretty well. There is one major flaw to the film, and it does involve the ending of the film. Another movie where the ending, unfortunately, kind of steers the film down a little bit, but never to the point where I would say it's not bad. But here's the thing. Towards the end of the movie, they reveal this big twist about Jane Fonda's character. And while the twist itself is good, and I like the aftermath of what happened to it, the film doesn't really do a good job of foreshadowing it. There's only one scene where you get an indication of something is wrong with Fonda in this, and this other person that's part of the twist, but that's about it. You know, more subtle hints probably would have been better than those stupid scenes about Faye's son using the potty. Yeah, this one has a lot of gross-out humor, and I know something like Parenthood had some gross-out humor too, but not to the extent of this film. Yeah, sorry to interrupt the review, but take a look at this. That, my friends, is what we call a snow squall. Yeah, it is snowing like crazy out there. You can barely see what's going on. Jesus. Yeah, man, just look at this. This looks like a horror movie, really. I might do something stupid here. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah, this literally looks like the start of, like, The Thing or something like that. Yeah, just look at that, man. I know we're supposed to be getting to a review here, but yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get one of these again. Anyway, sorry about that, but back to the review. Like I said, man, like, Sean Levy, you could have just kept the shit jokes out of your more adult story just this once, but yeah, despite those problems, I did find this movie enjoyable. I did enjoy it a lot more than I was hoping for. It's one of the better dysfunctional family dramedies out there, and it does have a lot of elements that make it more like a modern version of Parenthood. It has its flaws, but as far as the film executed itself pretty well for the most part, it did a pretty good job with it overall. It's definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. Oh, and by the way, fuck those last 10 seconds, man. They pulled a How I Met Your Mother style BS move by contradicting what we had established earlier in the final 10 seconds of the movie. They almost had it, but then they basically just pulled it out the rug from you. It's just like, it's one of the year's best movies, but I'll say this. Leave before Jason Bateman takes Adam Driver's car for a ride. Then you will see a good movie. Other than that, yeah. You pretty much just saw something really bad that happens in the last 10 seconds. It's literally the last 10 seconds of the movie, too. But anyway, this is where I leave you, and this is where I leave you to go ahead and talk about our last film that we have here. The black sheep of this weekend, that is for damn certain, and that is Kevin Smith's latest film, Tusk.
Help me. I was abducted. Your life as you knew it is over, Mr. Brighton. This guy wants to turn me into an animal. I'm so scared.
Tusk. Rated R.
Justin Long is not kidding. This guy is literally trying to turn this guy into an animal, and we're going to touch on that in a second here, but this is Tusk, and this is Kevin Smith's black comedy body horror movie that's his first major wide release since Cop Out, which, yeah, not a very good sign, especially after that he did Red State, which was not a good movie, but in this film, Justin Long plays a narcissistic nymphomaniac podcaster who travels to Canada for an interview, and in the process meets an eccentric retired sailor played by Michael Parks, who decides to use his dark plans related to his obsession with a walrus named Mr. Tusk. And I think you can tell from that, and also the fact that the poster literally looks like what Justin Long is going to look like afterwards, that, yeah, this is one of those movies that's, yeah, you could tell Kevin Smith was channeling his inner David Cronenberg, which is funny because we're going to talk about David Cronenberg's The Fly later on time about the movie's flashback, but yeah, this is a very odd movie to say the least. I can't say it's a great movie, but at least unlike Red State, there is at least a fun idea here with this movie in general. There is an idea and a sense of what Kevin Smith's trying to accomplish here. It may be fucked up, but it's at least entertaining and at least engaging to watch overall, even if it is so messed up overall. And hey, Justin Long and Michael Parks work off each other very well. Haley Joel Osment actually has a nice role in here. Genesis Rodriguez is pretty good. So yeah, I guess I can honestly say that it's not a bad movie. It's a very unique film from Kevin Smith, which that's the best way to describe the movie. Very unique. I mean, this is unique in a similar way to something like Human Centipede in a way, except that first movie was fascinating in its own unique ways, and this is fascinating in its own unique ways as well, but not certainly on the same level as Human Centipede, but you get the idea. It's a really odd movie, but for Kevin Smith, it at least has more ambition to it than something like Cop Out or Red State did, so gotta give him credit for that, and certainly since his next movie is going to be back to him just not giving a fuck with Yoga Hosers, which supposedly this and this movie and Yoga Hosers are part of the same trilogy, but needless to say, this is definitely the better of those films, and I don't even think there is even a trilogy there. I think after Yoga Hosers was a huge flop, it's just kind of like, we don't want to make, nobody wants to see the continuation of that story, so. Yeah, I'm just rambling on at this point, but yeah, Tusk is definitely an oddity, to say the least, but a unique oddity. I'll give it that.
I tried to stay away, live a simple life.
You had a nice funeral, in case you were wondering.
Mr. McCall, what happened?
Hit it on something stupid. But when somebody does something unspeakable, you do something about it. 16 seconds. Because you can.
Just you, or are we waiting for somebody else?
Just me. The Equalizer in IMAX, rated R.
And welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. Today we are taking a look at the last two films of September 2014 for September 26, and of course the biggest of the two new releases is Denzel Washington in The Equalizer. He stars as a middle-aged retired intelligence officer who believes he has put his special force past behind him and dedicates himself to beginning a new quiet life. But when McCall meets Terry, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, a young girl under the control of violent Russian gangsters, he can't stand idly by. He has to help her. Armed with hidden skills that allow him to serve vengeance against anyone who would brutalize the helpless, McCall comes out of his self-imposed retirement and finds his desire for justice reawakened. If someone has a problem, if the odds are stacked against them, if there's nowhere else to turn, they call The Equalizer. This is, of course, based off the 1980s TV series starring Edward Woodward, and this is also Denzel Washington and director Antoine Fuqua working once again for the first time since Training Day. Which, that's the only thing I could say that's bad about the movie, is that you don't have a great over-the-top Alonzo Harris performance in this one, but nevertheless, this is still a pretty awesome movie. In fact, all the Equalizer movies really are a lot of fun overall. I mean, Washington is the solid hold of this film that just is part of what makes this such a fun movie in general. I mean, the movie just works as a solid action thriller with Washington proving once again his badassness. Even in crap like Safe House and Two Guns, he can always beat the crap out of anybody that comes his way, and the movie will definitely prove that. Yeah. He's given a terrific performance in this. I thought the performances overall were pretty solid here. The rest of the cast is really good, too. I mean, Martin Sikorsky playing the bad guy in this, plays a great film villain. Chloe Grace Moretz is pretty good in here. Although I will admit, she's only in about 20 to 25 minutes in it overall. I mean, at least she has more screen time than somebody like Bill Pullman or Melissa Leo, who show up for like 10 minutes even. And even though Pullman's been seen in much of the TV advertisement, he's barely in the movie. I also like the look of the movie, too. It has that great gritty tone, something like a Drive, sort of. Which is funny, because the director of the Drive, Nicholas Winding Refn, was originally supposed to direct this movie at one point during the production. And yes, the violence is very much rated R. It works really well, too. I mean, there's even some good bits of comedy there. There's a great bit where Washington and this crooked cop, who coincidentally is played by the bad guy from last week's movie, A Walk Among the Tombstones, goes into this drug and money ring, confronts the bad guys, beats the crap out of them, then ties them up, and then the scene ends with Washington giving the workers in there some of the money that the dealers were holding. And I have to say, that was generally very funny in general. The movie can be very predictable at times. You know, when somebody's about to get killed, you know what's likely going to be used as bait to lure the hero. You know when it's more than likely going to go. And yeah, it can be really annoying, but if it's done well, it can work overall. I mean, it's definitely better paced than last week's A Walk Among the Tombstones, even though I will say the pacing of the first half hour is a little slow for its own good. Yeah, I know they're trying to build Washington's character arc here, but you gotta do something a little bit better than that. But the movie is good for much of the rest of the film, but really becomes great when we get to the last action scene of the movie in this Home Depot-like store that Washington works in. The last 20 minutes are badass. This is the best moments of the entire movie. In fact, most of the climaxes in the Equalizer movies are the best overall. I mean, the one from Equalizer 2 is one of my favorite ones, and that reminded me so much of Patriot Games, but this is just so well done. Like, the action's very well done, Washington's being badass. I mean, there's parts where there's traps that literally feel like an R-rated Home Alone is about to kick in here. I mean, had the movie been paced better early on, I would have said this was one of the best films of the year, but it doesn't compare as well to A Walk Among the Tombstones, but at the same time, it's still a great movie overall. Washington once again commands the screen, proving that he can easily take on anyone that comes his way. The action is well done. The film has this great stylistic look to it. The ending action sequence is incredible. It just works, man. The Equalizer made the jump to the big screen in the best possible way. I mean, can't recommend this one enough. The Equalizer, man. The Equalizer, so with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the second of our films here, and that is the latest film from the creators of Coraline and Paranorman, and that is the Box Trolls.
Of the upper world.
You're invited to meet the Box Trolls. Fish, Shoe, Sparky, Oil Can, and Eggs. Nice. This fall, buckle up and roll with the trolls.
Jelly!
The Box Trolls, rated PG.
And really right there sums up a lot of the major problems with the movie in general. The Box Trolls are a community of quirky, mischievous characters who have lovingly raised an orphan human boy named Eggs in the amazing cavernous homes they built beneath the streets of the city called Cheesebridge. The story is about a young orphan boy raised by these underground cave-dwelling trash collectors who try to save his friends from an evil exterminator, the town's villain, Archibald Snatcher. When Snatcher comes up with a plan to get rid of the Box Trolls, Eggs decides to venture above ground and into the light, where he meets and teams up with fabulously feisty Winnie. Together they devise a daring plan to save the Box Troll family, and this is based off of the children's novel called Here Be Monsters, played by Alan Snow, which sounds like a name that you would hear for like a villain or something like that, or an action hero. Alan Snow, we need you, like that type of thing. But yeah, like I said, this is made by the same people who made Coraline and Paranorman, which are two excellent movies. And this definitely feels like Leica trying to be appealing more to the mainstream audience, like a Despicable Me in a way. Although these characters are certainly nowhere near as annoying as the Minions can be. But that doesn't mean the movie is terrible. It's still a good movie. It's just that Coraline and Paranorman had that edge to them that made them stand out more. And even their next movie, Kubo and the Two Strings, I think really gave this studio more of an edge than somebody like Pixar or even before Sony Pictures Animation got that edge. But, I mean, the thing that works with Coraline and Paranorman is that the edge of that film is that those films managed to not only be great kids' movies, but they were able to go above and beyond for what we're used to seeing in modern-day kids' films. I mean, Paranorman literally has a main character who comes out as gay and is supposed to be the romantic love interest to Norman's sister, Anna Kendrick's character. Like, what other movie are you going to get that from? A studio like Pixar under Disney would probably be like, nope, can't have that in there. At least back then, at least. But I digress. But, like I said, the general story here is very typical, and honestly, there's more things you could see coming a mile away in this that you could tell. The name of the villain is obviously a giveaway as the villain. Like, he was literally born to become a villain with the name Archibald Snatcher. Like, what was he going to be if he wasn't a villain? Like, like a I don't know, chef or something like that? The father of the main character supposedly dies, but then comes back later in the film. There's a dad who doesn't want to listen to his child. There's a scene where the main character has to learn to fit in with normal people. There's a scene where the main character has to have a fight with one of the characters, and they have to go their separate ways for a bit. There's a scene where the Box Trolls are supposedly dead, but they come back in the end to save the day. There's many moments like that in this movie, and coming from a studio like Coraline and Paranorman that did things so differently and took you completely by surprise when they built up these twists and all that. I mean, the twist in Paranorman is something that still is etched in my memory. It's like, oh, that's good. That's a good twist right there. Yeah, this movie just goes down the predictable route, and yeah, it's a shame that it does that overall. That's probably my biggest complaint about the movie, is that it's a very predictable story. But with all that said, though, I mean, it's got a lot of good elements to it. I like the Box Trolls themselves. I think they are very likable characters. They can be very funny when they can be. The main character is very good. Eggs is a likable character, as is Winnie. I thought Snatcher was a pretty cynical and fun villain, and honestly, Ben Kingsley giving that great performance. I mean, that's probably one of the best performances I've seen from Ben Kingsley in a long time, man. I mean, it certainly is nowhere near the levels of something like a Love Guru or something like that, but that's good. We don't want that to be that way. His henchmen are a ton of fun to watch, too. The rest of the characters are okay at best. The story is about as generic as it gets. It has a straightforward 3-act structure, and it's easy to follow, and does lead to, I think, honestly, a pretty fun conclusion overall, especially with the way to defeat the villain. The animation is the best thing about it overall. I mean, not only do you have great stop-motion animation, but a mix of computer animation thrown in there with stop-motion flawlessly. I mean, Paranorman did a lot of those same things, and it's still amazing to watch those movies and realize that, yeah, this is clearly something where you cannot really predict what's what here. And, yeah. And in a world now where AI is becoming the norm, I mean, I hope Leica doesn't go down that route with this, because, yeah, this is the stuff that's been working, and if this is the reason why their latest film is taking so long to get done, then so be it. It'll turn out amazing. But, like I said, I enjoyed the Box Trolls. I think it's fun for kids overall. Good animation, decent story, likable characters, a good heart to it. I always say that there's never been a really bad stop-motion film, except maybe Monkey Boat, but even then it was like a live-action hybrid overall. And the box office definitely doesn't change my mind on it overall. It's worth seeing on the big screen, but if you haven't seen it, you didn't see it on the big screen, it's worth watching at home. I think you'll like it as much as the other Leica films, but it'll definitely be the lesser of the films that you see from them. I think Coraline, Paranorman, Kubo, and even Missing Link, which is probably their second to worst film, is actually a lot better than this is. So take that for what you will. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the Box Trolls.